like it's 1929. Raise the roof, everybody. We don't have to pay our bills anymore. So, Bill, I've just about lost my voice. Go ahead and play that KATU clip, which is on that tape I gave you. And give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go.
Things get tense as the protesters hauled off by Portland police. More than 100 people hit the streets of downtown to protest. All
right, this is the KATU clip.
Good evening. Thanks a lot for being with us, everybody. I'm Steve Dunn.
And I'm Deborah Knapp. Jet Ranger 2 was above as protesters got into a confrontation with police that resembled some kind of tug of war. Police showed a heavy presence on the streets as protesters marched across downtown. K2's Bob High followed the protesters for hours tonight, and he's live in downtown tonight. Bob?
Well, Deb, some of those protesters could be spending time here at the Justice Center jail tonight after being taken into custody, where many of the confrontations took place tonight as demonstrators marched through downtown protesting fatal officer-involved shootings. A scuffle breaks out between Portland police bicycle officers and protesters in front of the Justice Center. The man at the center of the shoving match is finally handcuffed and taken into custody.
You train lethally. You shoot to kill.
The crowd he was part of left a trail of vandalism across downtown, including this shattered glass door at the Bank of America. It was bad enough for Andrea Meade to drop out of the demonstration.
Police need to be held accountable for the brutality that we have been seeing in the last few years. But this protest, the protesters themselves have taken this out of hand. I actually stayed back and I had to help clean up after them because they threw rocks at windows.
Hours earlier, we approached protesters carrying banners hoping to hear from them too.
We're not interested in talking.
Okay, that's what I came to ask. I'll always ask.
Thank you.
Others came to support the protest, but not the violence.
We don't want people to think that we are violent, but in return, some people need to contain their anger, even the police department.
I personally don't believe in the property damage of anything. Yet, when we're talking about the loss of human life, there's no comparison to property damage.
Police tried to keep the crowd of protesters from blocking streets. Some in the crowd instead tried to tie up traffic other ways. When shoving matches got out of hand, time and again, someone was taken into custody. Even though she quit marching because of the violence, Andrea Meade says these demonstrations and cat-and-mouse confrontations they spawn probably won't stop.
Until we start seeing that the police are being held accountable just like the rest of the citizens, protests like this are going to continue to happen.
I saw 3 people taken into custody myself, although police do not have a final count on the number of arrests for tonight's demonstration. Police said they'd be prepared for whatever demonstration took place tonight, and evidently they were. Live in downtown Portland, Bob High, K2 News.
It just seems like their message is lost, though, when you have situations like that property damage, Bob.
Depends on your perspective.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Now, I mean, you had Northwest Cable Channel News there. You had CNN there. Or CNN wrote about it. You had Fox there. You had Channel 8 there, Channel 6 there, Channel 2 there. The Oregonian's done a story on this. Nobody has covered the fact that there's a lot of strange things brewing in the town of Portland, Oregon at this time. With Zachariah Bucharest still at school at Portland State University. Now, I saw him at the protest. And a friend of mine interviewed him for about a minute on his YouTube channel. And I tried to interview Zach briefly. I invited him on this show. He declined to come on the show, saying everything was cleared up. Frankly, not everything is cleared up with Zachary, the student at PSU that hangs out with the Black Bloc, that's calling for violence, trying to sell guns, and teach people how to make Molotov cocktails. Apparently, the people, and students for that matter, at Portland State University don't really seem to care about this very much, and people seem to think this is normal. In fact, some people are so ignorant, so naive, so misled, they think that perhaps violence is the way. They think that perhaps violence is necessary in this particular form to affect change and get the authorities' attention. When in reality, they're preparing for martial law. They're getting even more weapons. And in reality, does it look like the police broke a sweat in this particular protest? This was just exercise for them. This was just simply overtime for them. This was just simply another excuse for them to pull out the big guns. And you know this. Now, I was there at the protest. Now I'm going to go to the upcoming protests when I know when the next large one is. for the sole purpose this time of not so much bullhorning the police, but being aware of the actions of those of the Black Bloc. Now, in many protests, you see the same type of scenario unfold, whether it be in Portland, Oregon, or other major cities. You see the genuine protest, which is for the most part peaceful and legal. And then you see another group break off of the larger group, which therefore go to places like Bank of America, begin smashing windows and turning over newspaper stands, spray painting the big anarchy symbol on the police car. There have been agent provocateurs identified and caught at the RNC. In fact, I've heard from veteran protesters back in the day when they used to catch black blockers or provocateurs, they used to handcuff them and drive them down the road, find out their identity, and kick them out of the car and tell them, don't you ever come back here again, or you might be leaving with more than just a plastic zip tie behind your back. You might be limping out of here. And see, the reality is, as more people get upset, the government's going to continue to frame people, infiltrate people, intimidate people into not going to protests. And of course, in terms of framing people, we're seeing prominent activists right now being put on the terror watch list. We're seeing the FBI visit certain public speakers throughout the United States, and also people that blog and say things that are deemed to be threatening by the White House or the Secret Service. So the Black Bloc is not in any way held up to the same standards in the United States or in Europe. They're in a whole different area. They appear to be protected by the feds. And you've got to wake up to this reality. There are a lot of people out there that watch this show that appreciate the work I've done over the years that don't want to believe. They don't want to believe that there's something fishy going on in not Denmark, but the streets of Portland, Oregon. They want to believe that Portland's an island. Ah, yes, Portland's an island. And we don't have to worry about infiltration. We don't have to worry about sabotage. We don't have to worry about enemies operating within our midst. We can just party like it's 1929, run around with our little ninja sticks and ninja masks and goggles and pretend we're a kung fu master taking on the system with sticks. While the cops ride around their horses, making their overtime. And then the media, the media does their part. People saw me on the media in the news, megaphoning the cops, and they thought I was with the Black Bloc. And again, it's like, oh, Alex, are you okay? Did you get arrested? I never get arrested by the police or bothered by the police because I don't do illegal things. I speak my mind. I also choose that I'm protected by my spirit guides that have led me on the path that I'm on right now. I know a lot of people just love to be afraid of the CIA, and you love to hear about the problems, and you don't like to hear about anybody's spiritual hope. I understand that, but just deal with it. This is my show, not yours. You've got to have a certain psychological mindset to keep yourself going every single day. Otherwise, you're going to self-destruct. Take a look around at people in the city. Do they look like they're getting healthier? Or do they look like they're getting sicker, running around with their Pabst-Blue ribbon jackets and their black little masks on? Destroy, kill, rape, bust everything up. It's all capitalism. Go communism. It's funny because you all have anarchists going pro-communism, which actually that really doesn't make sense. Isn't anarchy supposed to be like no government, whereas communism is its own takeover, its own banker takeover of the people and their freedoms in its own right? But a lot of people think that communism and capitalism are two different things, and in reality, that's not really how it works. People have been oppressed in China, past, present, and they will in the future. Same thing goes for Russia and other communist nations, including Cuba. But again, people like to create little divisive issues like, oh, the healthcare thing. Look at Cuba. They've got healthcare and this and that. You know, America's the worst country in the world. Yet there's a lot of great things that made America America that people should remember as we go into the depths of despotism, as we move into a darker era of tyranny, as we move into the New World Order. We have to remember the beautiful things that made our country great. Those basic principles, those